And gun violence claims another life in the city. The latest shooting happened just before 3 o'clock this afternoon in a building within the LaFrac City complex in Corona, Queens. The victim, identified as Douglas Jones, was found unconscious in a stairwell on the 17th floor. Police say Jones suffered a gunshot wound to the head and was pronounced dead at the scene. So far, no arrests and no other details released by police.
Back to some breaking news from overnight now. A 23-year-old man is dead today after police say he was shot in the head. That shooting happened just before 2 o'clock along Hill Creek Circle in the city's Crescentville section. So far, no word on a motive for the shooting, and police are still searching for the suspect.
And we are tracking details on several of other deadly shootings across the city of Philadelphia. A gunman shot and killed a 29-year-old man in West Philly's Mill Creek neighborhood this afternoon. It happened in the 4900 block of Aspen Street around 4. Police say they are looking for at least 4 suspects. There's no word on what led to this gunfire. In the Northeast, a 23-year-old man is dead after police say someone shot him in the head here in Crescentville. The shooting happened along the 5500 block of Hill Creek Circle just before 2 o'clock this morning. Police are still searching for the shooter. The chief was hit by a barrage of bullets. Investigators are working to learn if that was connected to the shooting.
What we see on the scene down the street, they were shooting up the street in this direction. Over here, we have multiple strike marks on the buildings on the side over there. That vehicle is also part of that scene.
There's no word yet on a motive for that shooting. An attempted robbery suspect is dead in North Philadelphia. Police say a person tried to rob and shot that man in the chest at 21st and Diamond. The shooting happened outside a corner store just after 4 this morning. The 30-year-old suspect died at Temple University Hospital.
Drop it on Disney Plus to see all.
Here in New York City, that deadly subway shooting. Police are urgently searching for a gunman who shot and killed a man on a subway train here in Manhattan. Officers are on the scene searching for clues. Police believe the attack was random. ABC's Phil Lipoff is following the late developments here in New York.
Tonight, the manhunt underway for the gunman wanted for a deadly shooting on a New York City subway train that police say was unprovoked. Riders horrified.
That is scary.
According to witnesses, the suspect was walking back and forth in the same train car and without provocation pulled out a gun and fired it at the victim at close range.
Police say the killer shot a 48-year-old man in the chest as the train was heading to the Canal Street station near Chinatown in Manhattan. Authorities say when the train pulled into the station, the shooter took off.
What we've gotten from the witnesses, there is no prior contact between the victim and the suspect.
Terrifying for those who depend on the subway system here, as New York City has seen transit crime rise by more than 50% in just a year. This latest subway shooting coming on the heels of 10 people being shot when a suspect set off smoke grenades on a subway train in Brooklyn last month. But unlike that shooting, police say this time they have video of the shooter to help in their search, and still looking for the public's help.
Help us find this guy, right? There's other people riding the train. We have some of them. Others who saw something, maybe somebody who took a...
16-year-old boy is recovering after being shot in Brooklyn. Happened at around 11 o'clock last night on Albany Avenue near Glenwood Road in East Flatbush. The teen was taken to Kings County Hospital in stable condition. It's unclear what led up to the shooting. Police have not made any arrests in this case.
In the span of less than 15 hours, Newberry police are investigating the deaths of 4 teenagers who were all shot in the Y Street community. The first shooting was Sunday, just after midnight. The victim, a 16-year-old. Then, around 3 p.m., 3 more teens were shot and killed. Newberry Police Chief Kevin Goodman says the victims were between the ages of 15 to 19.
It's sad that the young generation like this getting shot. It just hurt me, you know. And then had a shooting last night. Kid get killed last night, 16 years. It just hurt me. It really do.
One thing, I spend a lot of time with the young folk in this community. And what I tell them all the time is, still my same message is, we're better than this. We're better than this, and we have to, what we're putting out there right now is not indicative of what we are and who we are. And the families just raise these young men. We're just better. We got to do better.
The chief also confirmed that one of the victims of the triple shooting was interviewed by police about the fatal shooting of the 16-year-old just hours before he was killed.
Preliminarily, I would say that everybody, all the victims are somehow connected. They knew each other, and my understanding, we're in the same circle.
The Newberry City Police Department is heading the investigation with assistance from SLED and the Newberry County.
This morning shows a 90-year-old woman being robbed on the Upper West Side. Police say the suspect seen here grabbed the elderly woman's purse from her walker and ran away. It happened back on May 10th, just before 7 p.m. on West 64th Street near Broadway. The woman tried to stop him, but he'd already taken off. Video later shows the suspect trying to shove the purse into a black duffel bag. It does not appear that the woman was hurt here.
Night changed in an instant. They went from cheering on the Yankees right down the street to fearing for their lives right in their own home, just a few blocks away from the stadium. And this morning, police are looking for the suspect who they say held up this little boy and his dad just for $30 that he got away with. Take a look. The video tells the dramatic story in this case. You can see here that the dad and his 6-year-old son walk inside the apartment building around 9 o'clock Monday night. A little guy clutching a brand new bat he got from the game against the Orioles, but no sooner do they get inside than a man with a hooded jacket lurks behind them in the lobby. You see him put his hands in his pocket, and then police say he pulls out a black handgun, pointing at both of them, demanding their property. The little boy, clearly startled and scared by the holdup, running into the hallway. As they're staring down the gun, the father tries to shield his son from this callous criminal who ends up leaving again with just $30. Fortunately, though, at the end of this ordeal, neither one of the dad or the 6-year-old boy were hurt. However, police need your help this morning trying to catch the person behind that gun. You saw him wearing those bright red sneakers. He also had on a dark hooded jacket and dark pants. If you know anything, give police a call. Reporting live in the concourse section of the Bronx, I'm Anthony DiLorenzo.
So looking for the robbery suspect responsible for a violent attack in Brooklyn. It happened last Sunday morning in Dyker Heights. Police say a 44-year-old man was sitting on a stoop when he was approached by the suspect, who pushed him to the ground. The attacker repeatedly punched and kicked the man and then made off with his cell phone and a wallet containing $6,000 in cash. The victim suffered cuts and bruises but refused medical attention.
Police are also looking for another suspect in another terrifying attack on the streets of Manhattan. This one caught on camera in Lenox Hill. Investigators say a man with a knife approached a 29-year-old man from behind Thursday afternoon. They say he randomly slashed the victim in the back and left arm several times. It happened on the corner of 3rd Avenue and East 63rd. The suspect then took off. The victim was treated at the hospital, and we're told he is in stable condition.
After police say someone attacked a man in front of a firehouse. It happened just last Monday after midnight in the Morris Heights section. The suspect stabbed the 33-year-old victim 3 times. He was taken to the hospital in critical condition. Police released this video of the suspect. They say he has several tattoos on his arms and right hand.
Today is the funeral for the subway rider.
These demand change shooting skyrocket across the city.
Today, nearly 24 weapons were recovered from a high school in Queens, hours after 3 students were hurt in a shooting just steps from campus. CBS 2's Allie Bauman joins us live from Fresh Meadows with more. Allie?
Jessica and Dick, sources tell CBS 2 that Mayor Adams is planning to put his NYPD top brass on notice that there's going to be some changes if police don't turn this city's violent crime around. And families affected by gun violence agree that something has to change because New York cannot continue on like this. Jeremy Santana's mother clutches his photo in Brooklyn Thursday, standing on the block where the 38-year-old was gunned down 4 days prior.
It was my son that was taken away from me.
In their agony, the victims' loved ones gathered, pleading for city officials to put an end to the rise in gun violence.
We need more visibility of the police on the street. I see them in police cars, but we need to see them in our community, in the streets, developing a rapport.
It was my brother today, but it could be your brother tomorrow.
The latest NYPD data shows the number of shooting victims citywide is up 8% so far this year compared to last, and up 85% compared to 2 years ago.
It's not happening in the middle of the night. It's happening in the afternoon on a busy street in a busy area where kids congregate after school.
Wednesday in Queens, 3 students were shot outside Francis Lewis High School in Fresh Meadows, including a 14-year-old girl. Thursday, police released this photo of at least 4 people they're looking for. Meanwhile, the violence prompted school safety agents to bring in metal detectors. We're told they recovered 20 weapons from the students.
They have a stun gun and pepper spray from one student, have a lot of knives.
Mayor Adams reacted to the cache of weapons in a statement, telling CBS 2, "There should be no doubt that keeping New York City safe is my top priority."
New at noon, the search is on for the gunman who fired a shot that wounded a 72-year-old woman inside of her home. It happened on 128th Street in South Ozone Park at around 11:30 last night. Police say the victim was sitting in a chair when a stray bullet came through her living room window and hit her in the hand. The victim was treated for the gunshot wound at Jamaica Medical Center. She's expected to be okay. Authorities say a black sedan was seen fleeing the scene.
New at noon, a TSA officer at Newark Airport stopped a passenger who had stuffed a loaded handgun into his carry-on luggage. TSA officials then alerted Port Authority police, who confiscated the handgun, arrested the man from Ocean County, New Jersey. Now, this happened last Friday. The passenger claimed he forgot he had placed the firearm into his carry-on bag. The passenger now faces a federal weapons charge. It was the 9th gun discovered by agents at the airport so far this year.
At a gas station in the middle of the day. This happened in Henderson on Saturday afternoon.
And we begin with CBS 17's Haley Fixler live right now at that gas station. Haley, walk us through what you've learned so far.
Well, what you see in the video is several people walking around, guns in tow, before they start shooting at each other, and that happened just here. And if you look here behind me, you can see there are 3 bullet holes still in the windows of the building. But let's take a look at that video that we just mentioned. Moments before dozens of rounds are heard being fired off, you can see this man getting out of his car with a large black gun in tow. He whips it out and fires back to someone off camera. You can even see the bullet fragments and smoke in the bottom left hand of your screen. All of this happening in the middle of the day during a holiday weekend. Now, we are working to find out some more information about what happened here, what led up to those shots being fired. We'll share with you what we learned tonight starting at 4. Live in Henderson.
Series of deadly shootings over the last 13 hours. Since 4 o'clock yesterday, 14 people were shot and 6 people were killed, including a 9-year-old boy and his father in Philadelphia's Wissinoming neighborhood. Eyewitness News reporter Rosti Matei is live for us this morning and has more details on this investigation. Ross.
Yeah, just a horrible story, Jan. Police say that this father and son were just sitting in their car after parking near their home when they were gunned down in a drive-by shooting. Police were first called around 10:30 last night for reports of gunshots on the 2100 block of Carver Street. And when officers got there, they found a father and a son suffering from multiple gunshot wounds each. The two were taken to nearby hospitals where they were pronounced dead just minutes apart. The 9-year-old just before 11 p.m. and his 37-year-old dad just after 11 o'clock. Police believe the two had just parked near their house and they were sitting in the front seat of their vehicle when at least 2 shooters inside of a dark vehicle, possibly an SUV, opened fire on them, shooting at least 13 rounds and hitting both victims multiple times. As of last night, police were still searching for the shooters and the motive behind this shooting.
Investigators are combing the neighborhood to see what private surveillance cameras might be on this block, and also nearby, around the corner, etc., that may have captured more information about the suspects that we're looking for at this time, and also.
We begin with breaking news right now. A 25-year-old man is dead and 2 people are in the hospital after a shooting in the Burnside neighborhood last night, one of several shootings during what turned out to be a violent Memorial Day weekend in Chicago.
CBS 2's Mugo Digwe now joins us live from Chicago Police Headquarters at 35th and Michigan to tell us about the latest in the investigation. Good morning, Mugo.
Good morning, Ryan and Audrina. So unfortunately, this is something you typically expect during a Memorial Day weekend in Chicago, especially one with the great weather we saw yesterday. In all, at least 50 people were shot in Chicago this holiday weekend, and that includes the victims in this recent case from last night. Take a look at some video here. You can see several shell casings on the ground. This is near Kenwood and 93rd Street. Police say the 3 victims are in their 20s. They were standing near the sidewalk when they were shot. Ironically, we've learned the shooting happened during what was supposed to be a memorial for another shooting victim. Right now, a 26-year-old man is in critical condition. A 27-year-old man is also in the hospital. It's not clear, though, how he's doing right now. And then the other man, the 25-year-old, he's the one who didn't survive.
on a day that has been super violent.
Search underway to find the person who killed a father and his 4-month-old baby. This happened late last night in Monroe. Family members now begging for answers and justice for their loved ones whose lives were taken. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane has the latest on the investigation.
He was a baby and they took his life.
The pain of an aunt dealing with not only the tragic shooting death of her 4-month-old nephew, but also the child's father, her brother, Darian McClendon.
Brother, he didn't deserve this.
It was a simple cookout on a back porch when suddenly someone walked up and opened fire. This child was inside the house when it happened. We aren't showing her or her mother's face.
And I heard gunshots, and then Shania was like, grab the baby, and then they just all fell, and then they was still shooting, and then the baby was having blood all over them.
Monroe police say they got a shots fired call around 10 on Sunday night, and when they arrived at 329 Morrill Street, they found 2 houses riddled with bullets, and Darian McClendon and his 4-month-old son, Damare, both critically wounded. Both died as a result of their injuries.
He had his kids, and y'all did this. Like, y'all took this man from his sister. Y'all took this man from his kids, his girlfriend.
Now a family already grieving about the death of a sister killed in a car wreck just months ago, now forced to deal with 2 more devastating losses.
He was my hero. He was my best friend, my everything.
A bizarre murder in the 5 boroughs. Police say an overnight home invasion turned deadly in Kew Gardens, ending with a resident stabbed to death. A suspect is in custody, and Morgan Mackay has the details.
He said someone was murdered across the street. I went, oh my God. That's the last thing you want to hear in the neighborhood.
Neighbors were stunned on Sunday to wake up to the news that 41-year-old Yat Wong had been repeatedly stabbed within his own home.
There was just so many lights and so many cop cars outside. You really don't know what to make of it, what's going on, until you realize, later on, someone was murdered, right next door to you. It's only 3 houses away. So it's a little shocking.
Police say that 35-year-old Yang Zhang climbed from balcony to balcony up to the 3rd floor of this Queens apartment in order to break in and stab Wong. According to published reports, Wong's wife was inside the apartment at the time, but ran out when Zhang broke in. Neighbors say they heard possible screams from next door. When police arrived at around 2 a.m., they say they found Zhang and had to shock him with a taser in order to take him into custody.
I heard the cops say, "Don't move," like that. I heard the noise, like gunshot.
Wong was pronounced dead on the scene by emergency medical services. Police say it is unclear at this time if the 2 men knew each other.
This is the first we ever heard of anything like that.
She apparently was the forgotten woman of NYCHA until construction workers made a terrible discovery. They saw the woman's skeleton in her bedroom while working on the top floor at South Jamaica Houses.
Yeah, we are learning tonight she may have been dead nearly 2 years. Pick 7's Mary Murphy joining us now with more details. Mary.
Such a sad story. The woman's name was Marilyn McMichael, and her skeleton was found on April 26th. She had 2 foster sisters who tried to report her missing back in January, but they say nobody seemed to care.
Construction workers are tearing up the road outside South Jamaica Houses on 160th Street. But not too many people know about the discovery made inside the building on April 26th.
I just heard it was a woman found in her bed. She was found in her bed upstairs on the 7th floor.
Her name was Marilyn McMichael, and she was 54 years old.
Apparently her windows were open, so the men on the scaffolding saw her in her bed, dead, skeletal form.
Simone Bess Jones and Charmin McElrath are foster sisters who grew up with Marilyn McMichael, known as May, in a loving family. They said May developed emotional problems over the years and called them after the first wave of the pandemic in 2020.
She wanted me to take her to the hospital. She sounded a little manic, and I was trying to explain to her they're not accepting people at the hospitals.
The sisters say they tried knocking on May's door over the next year.
We would never get her to come to the door.
Was that unusual, or had she done it before?
That was not unusual for May.